Nikayla Rice is a figure that maybe a lot of people may not be familiar with her name if you're not in protest circles. Certainly not a name, say, like Trey or TK or Payday. But Nikayla has been everywhere this summer. And we have had the pleasure of working with her. We've talked to her multiple times about we would love to have you come on the show. And Nikayla has been working on kind of operating out of her comfort zone. And we had a wonderful interview with her today. And with that, I get to catch my breath for a few minutes, and we're going to play part of the interview that we had. We will play a second part of this next week, and then we will release the entire interview that we had. It's almost 20 minutes. We release the entire interview. We're going to roll that out tomorrow. And so with that, let's roll that interview. Welcome to another interview with Malcontent News. My name is David. I am the Malcontent, and we are here with Nikayla Rice. Nikayla, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Just, recovering from the months before and just getting everything recuperated and relaxing in December. How are you doing?
Nikayla, I'm doing great, and thank you so much for asking. That's really nice of you. You've really been involved behind the scenes in a lot of activity in the Black Lives Matter movement in the Puget Sound region. Why don't we start by having you talk a little bit about some of the things that you have done behind the curtain?
Well, I've done a few things in the last few months, from leading protests in the East Side, helping co-organize the Black Joy Festival, doing protests in Seattle, having sit down and listen events. Also, that's what I specialize in now, and just supporting the community.
I know in preparing for this interview, you and I talked a little bit. You were involved with the Engage team. You and a couple other people taking a self-care break. You're doing a little bit of a step back. Tell us about why you're taking that self-care break, and why is self-care in the protest community so important?
I am taking a self-care break because I haven't had one in the last 6 months. I've been out protesting since June and trying my best to support, and it is taxing. It is completely taxing, to the point where some, even myself, just thought about just stopping protesting, stopping whatever it is that we're doing for the community, and just fully focusing on myself. I think that it's really important to take, at least a month off, 2 weeks off, or whatever you feel comfortable with, to really understand why we're out here.
I know that you've had a really interesting journey over the last 6 months. You've been involved in a lot of different things. Let's talk a little bit about Black Joy.
I co-organized the Black Joy Festival with an amazing woman, Brianna Janae. She actually is the one who is the founder of the Black Joy campaign, and she had this idea because it was needed. It was needed in the Black community, something that was focused just on happiness, supporting Black vendors and performance people that we knew in Seattle and the Seattle area. From the poets to performance to us selling out basically from all the vendors, it was a amazing success.
You had a number of dancers that were there and other entertainers who identify in the trans community, that identify as trans. And I know that the Engage team has deep connections with the trans community, because at many of the events that they are involved in, there are people that entertain from the trans community. Tell us a little bit about those relationships and why the trans community needs so much representation and support.
The reason why we had so many performers, especially dancers and ballroom performers, is because they are a part of our community, especially the Black community, when it comes to trans lives. Trans Black women and men are the highest, in the highest rate of murder and so many other things. And I believe, and so does the team of the Engage team and Black Joy campaign, think of supporting them, of paying them what they deserve, and giving them the spotlight. to do whatever they want with their creativity and show people what Black joy is from all spectrums. And I think that's why we're so connected with that community, because without them, we wouldn't have a lot of things. And I feel like everyone should know that from just the point of view of support when it comes to community building. So yeah.
I know that you've done a lot with these sit down and listen series. What was the impetus for you to do that and bring those messages to the East Side?
I started this because it was needed. On the East Side, you don't get those protests. You don't get the news reporting what's going on, because yes, we have a smaller population, but we also are on the East Side, one of the most wealthiest in Washington, actually. And I felt like there needed to be something done. I had council members come to me wanting to get my opinion on a few things in Kirkland, and I actually spoke at a meeting that they had. And basically, they let all the Black folks speak first on what they felt needed to be addressed, but we only had 2 minutes to speak. 2 minutes is never enough. So I took it on my half to get more than that, to have people come out and speak of what they thought was most important, and amplify their voices and tell the community, hey, this is happening, this is my truth. So with Eastside Embrace doing all these things, trying to amplify Black voices in our community, we have supported so many people, from Black Coffee Northwest to the Alley League, and from poets to organizers who would do the protest in Seattle, to organizers who run and do the protest on the East Side. Their voices matter. And I felt like they needed their own time, where it wasn't just at a protest. I wanted this to be a safe space for them, and I will always continue to have a safe space and work with them doing that. Yeah.
And I think it's worth noting that you've been doing sit down and listens even in the age of COVID, that as the infection rates increased, you moved those into a virtual environment.
Yes, because of COVID, I wanted it to be safe for everyone, especially in the Black community, and how high the rates are for Black folk for COVID. So I thought those Zoom calls would bring more people in, not just from the East Side, but all over the Northwest, and just to expand the viewing of it to get more support.
What is one thing that you really wish that the non-BIPOC community would understand that they don't understand?
I wish that the non-BIPOC community would understand is that we're not a threat. We are people just like everyone else who still needs support, who still needs allies and comrades standing behind us when we want our voices heard, and to amplify them, to push harder and continue doing the work, and really believe in our truths when we tell you this is wrong, and not to judge them because you don't personally understand it.
Nikayla, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us. I believe that we will see a lot more of you behind the scenes as we get into spring and summer of 2021. And is there anything special that you're doing during your self-care break?
Thank you so much for having me. And I definitely, hopefully, will see you soon out in the streets when COVID is not as strict, hopefully. So yeah, take care.
So in part of the editing process, Nikayla does answer what she's doing for the self-care, but in the interest of keeping that interview for 5 minutes, think of that as a little bit of a teaser that you'll have to either come back on Monday or you'll have to watch the full-length video to find out what she is doing to self-care. Nikayla is an amazing young woman. She is so humble. And I know that she is working with a number of people in the Black Action Coalition, and also working with the Engage team. And she has stepped back, as a couple other of them have, because burnout among protesters is very, very real. You are just on and on and on and on. And I have expressed a number of times when crushing things have happened, you know, the night after, I remember Juneteenth. Juneteenth is really etched in my mind, because there was a number of us working on a documentary. We were fanned out because there were so many things going on in Juneteenth. And we had caught just all of this amazing video. And there was a lot of joy on that day. And things at CHOP were starting to get a little, but things were good. I remember it like at the end of the night, it was pretty late, and we were all kind of like, wow, this was a really good day. And then Lorenzo was shot and killed and murdered in CHOP that night. And this is like every day for the Black community. And the first couple of months where I would experience just this crushing low, and I'm like, and I just wanted to curl up in a ball and cry. And then I'm like, oh, this is the experience of Black America. This is every day, day after day after day. And they continue to function. And I don't know how they do it. I really don't. Because white America wouldn't put up with it. And Black America shouldn't have to put up with it. Nikayla also is known, particularly in the community around here, because of the sit down and listen sessions that she does. And that'll be part of the interview that we will play on Monday. And some of those sessions were done as Zoom meetings. And so recordings are available for that.